Welcome to the Pirate Broadcast, where we interview interesting people doing interesting things, where you can expand your connections, your community. Kindness is cool and smiles are free. And let's get this party started. And it's a great day for a Pirate Broadcast. And welcome if you're watching this in the future or an alternative time. And we're live 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. So let me get that correct. Arizona time.
Right.
So Steve, good morning. How are you, my friend?
I am doing well, Russ, doing very well. And glad to see that you're up and at 'em this morning. This is a good time to get it started.
Well, it's a routine of mine. And I wake up with gratitude and I make sure that I check in every day and share a few things with a few people and bring guests like yourself onto the Pirate Broadcast and hopefully inspire and motivate and tell a few stories and make sure that we entertain and educate as well. So,
Absolutely.
So Steve, so you're in an industry that has gone through some massive changes. And for those that don't know you, kind of give us a snapshot of who you are and what you're up to these days.
Sure, a little thumbnail. So my career background is primarily in the agency business, marketing agency, which I had in San Francisco for 20 plus years, and other agencies before that, and mainly in what we call consumer packaged goods, which is stuff that you guys buy in Walmart or at Safeway or whatever. So food in a package or deodorant or over-the-counter drugs or whatever, but basically packaged food. And so I got into that industry because an agency that I went to work for was specializing in that. And I learned from their experiences and came up with some ideas about how to disrupt the industry a little bit. Got together with a couple of other friends, started our cohort and got it going. But it was related to mainly helping companies, manufacturers and producers to sell more efficiently through retail. And that was really the idea, which is how do we do that? How do we get the process, as it were, a little bit better? Because at that time, which was the early 90s, you had agencies with a lot of skills, a lot of data that were able to help you with your advertising, right? But you had nobody to help you to spend the money you were spending at retail. And you were probably spending 10x at retail what you were spending in advertising on any decent brand. So that was our business model, and it worked. And then we did that. And then about 5 years ago, I decided I was doing some work with smaller companies, and decided that I want to get into founder coaching and consulting and a little bit more of the educational process. So we started putting together workshops for smaller firms. I started working with groups that put on pitch contests, where you go up and do your 5 minutes and try to get some funding or whatever, shelf placement. And so that's been a lot of fun. And that's kind of where we are now. My business is split between medium-sized companies and smaller companies, but I try to help everybody out if I can.
It's nice to be able to give back to the community and a lot of the same parallel. I got into advertising in 85 and technology and evolved into different media groups. And I know that packaging, though, as a unique process, there's so many packaging options these days, and we went through a lot of different packages that are not necessarily as effective as other packaging processes. But have you seen any packaging that really stands out, that really kind of makes you take note and say, that's a beautiful, amazing idea? Or
there's been a re-emphasis, really. For a long time, the cardboard box kind of sufficed, and maybe it had a plastic bag inside of it and whatever. But the ecological concerns, number one, were very important. And then a lot of people don't realize how important packaging is in what we call the shelf life of a product. So when you buy something and you pick it up and you look on it and it says best by July 23rd, whatever, that's a really critical component of how long a product can stay on the shelf, be sold, whatever. And a lot of that has to do with packaging. So if you have, say, an oatmeal, right?
Mhm.
If you open up the cardboard and then inside is the little plastic bag, inside the little plastic bag is probably nitrogen fill, not air, nitrogen, because it will
Mhm.
make it last longer. That's one of the things that you do. How you seal it,
Yeah.
important. And as you move from dry to frozen is actually the next least critical, right?
Mhm.
Next least. Dry, frozen, and then refrigerated, because there's a lot more refrigerated packaged product than there was 10 years ago.
Right.
All right. So let's talk about bars, talk about protein bars and stuff, right? They all used to be dry, shelf stable, no problem. Now they're refrigerated and time's ticking. They're a live, quote unquote, live product. You also have that with beverage. And so what's going on right now, I think in the really slick kind of stuff, two things. One is there's a move back to glass.
Yep.
And a couple of reasons. Obviously ecological, because it can be, right, it can be recycled. It's better for the product than PET or any of the plastic alternatives in terms of, it doesn't leach into the product over time, all of those things that they talk about. But the problem is it's heavy.
Yeah. So shipping costs go up.
Shipping costs are a killer. And secondly is, while that trend toward glass is in fact increasing, the trend toward recycling glass has decreased dramatically. And so you literally have places where you have stockpiles of crushed glass waiting to be recycled, but there's no market for it at this point. Hopefully that will balance out. I mean, that's what they're looking for. Then on the other side, you have ecologically friendly plastics, which almost sounds like a total misnomer.
An oxymoron.
Right. It's not. But so again, let's go back 10 years. 10 years ago, they first started coming out with this stuff. It was great, except you couldn't have the sunlight hit it, because otherwise it would start to melt. And they found out, even in the environment like a store, right, in a grocery store, if it was too close to the window, it would just start going away. So they're coming a long way on that. Cost is obviously prohibitive, with that, but those costs are going to come down over time. So you'll see designs out there that are I think getting way better. One of the challenges we have, Russ, is in this packaged good business is, although we're dealing with food and supplements and other small goods, we're really in a logistics business. That's really how the business operates. And that's what I try to work with people who are getting into the food business to have them understand. I had a conversation yesterday with a guy who was bottling. He wants to do hot sauces down in Florida. And he's got this great idea for a bottle. Except the problem is it's not going to fit on the shelf space where stores have hot sauces.
Yeah.
So guess what? He's not going to get distribution, because that's not how it works. He wants
to. It goes back to not only shelf space. It goes back to what's the dimensions in a semi. What's the transportation cost for changing the size of the packaging, and all of those dimensions. This is what fascinates me about packaging in general and logistics. Like you say, it's a logistics exercise.
Yep.
Because the fact remains is, okay, it's like standard sizing for anything, a pallet.
Right.
You have to understand, okay, well, what's the most, the best interval for storing on a pallet of goods, and how high can it stack before having a problem with it. All of these things, these nuances in the business, have to be considered in the packaging. And it's almost, the product is, parallel to the exercise. However, it's not necessarily the first thing you have to consider long term.
No, but people also don't necessarily think about the fact that packaging also remains the main communication point between the producer and the consumer. You can have a healthy advertising budget. You can be on Facebook. You can do all these other wonderful things. 90% of the people who buy your product the first time are going to see it on a shelf in a store. So the packaging has to carry the message. And that is in itself is a challenge, because about 65, 70% of the space on the packaging is already dictated by regulation. You have to have a nutritional statement. You have to have an ingredient statement. You have to have your corporate headquarters. You have to have directions. You have to have a list of allergens. Well, by the time you get done all that, you basically got time for like your logo and a pretty little picture. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So you have to make it large enough for people to actually read. I that triggers an idea for me, and I'm curious to what your thoughts are, or your experience in QR codes, because I remember back, in the 90s when everybody thought QR codes were going to take off. They were going to be the bomb diggity, and all of a sudden things were going to change because you could just walk up, scan it, and exactly what everything is. And they just didn't take off like I anticipated that they would, or some people thought they would.
No, they didn't, but they are making a comeback in the fact that, Generation Zers and whatever else are much more attuned to using those mechanisms. We weren't attuned to it. It was a pain. I'm trying to hold the camera up and, we weren't attuned to that. They do it without even thinking about it. So for stuff that requires a little bit of education, let's say supplements, right? It's not just, ginkgo lobo. What do I do with this? Anything that requires a further explanation, I think that's still quite viable. And then if you do like the over-the-counter drug companies, right, you have the Tylenol box, right, like this.
Right.
You have the fold-out panels that go like 8 panels out to tell you, don't do this, don't do this, don't take this. You're trying to get to the directions. How many do I take? Well, it's, there's some solutions to that. At the same time that you're trying to do that, you're also trying to reduce packaging for ecology purposes, for costs, whatever, trying to get around it. And a lot of that was derailed by the pandemic. Some major initiatives, people like Walmart and whatever, who went to their vendors and said, hey guys, we need to, first of all, you have a lot of small things that are taking up too much space. That's huge, right? So you get the cardboard and plastic with the earbuds, and the earbuds are this big and the package is this big. Because they don't want you walking out of the store with it. But okay, that's a really kind of a waste. But that pressure is going to come from consumers to retailers, and then it's going to come back to manufacturers.
Yeah. It's amazing to see how it evolves over time, how the packaging evolves over time. And, but I want to dive in something you mentioned and kind of take it to the next level is the pandemic has been changing the way that we do business in so many industries. And I have to believe that packaging now is migrating or thinking about or considering how can I deliver these things? How can I deliver this package safely to the individual at home and move products in a different way? How have you seen that evolve, and what's your experience with having food delivered and packages delivered? I mean, Amazon Prime is actually expanded and grown, and it's insane to sit back and watch it from a third party experience. And so somebody in the industry probably has a new kind of a take on it. So share that with us. As the street cleaner goes out cruising by.
Russ, there is no way to overstate the impact of the pandemic on the food and beverage industry. I can't, there's no superlatives I can just pick out in the air. But the primary forces, right, are what you mentioned, which is the personal consumer protection went sky high. All of a sudden, we could not sample or demo products anymore. It went away, forcing the adoption of a lot of single serve sampling, right? Which is one little package with one little thing in it for you or your family to taste. That's very expensive, very wasteful. Frankly, it costs just as much to make that little package as it does the big one. And so there's a force there. The second thing that happened was this movement to e-commerce for food, which was growing pre-pandemic. But based on the estimates of what we thought Amazon, Walmart.com, Kroger.com would do, we went up 10 years in 6 months, literally 10 years of volume. So where e-commerce was supposed to be in 2029.
So we've accelerated 10 years in advance.
10 years in 6 months. Yeah.
In the last 6 months.
So can you imagine the impact that put on no one was ready for that. Amazon wasn't ready for it. I mean, working with Amazon over the summer has just been a nightmare.
I mean, think about that. Think about that in relationship to the before and after effect.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
So the question that everybody had about August or September was when we kind of thought maybe we were going to come out of this a little early. That didn't happen. Was, our consumers who have now changed their buying habits, and they've changed them for long enough, whatever. You probably had somebody on that's a habit expert, right? They say 6 weeks or, whatever. We've been through 6 weeks, 6 months. We're going to go on a year, and a half. That's a habit that's you now have. You're not necessarily, you may go back to, you're going to maybe get milk and, whatever at the grocery store.
Yeah.
But if you were introduced to a product, and I have a couple of clients who sell only on e-commerce, they're not in stores.
Right.
So if you're buying their product and stuff, that's the only place you can get it. But if you were on Amazon.com and, oh, by the way, I need cookies, I need whatever, and it showed up, it's great. Or if you signed up for Walmart, which a lot of people did for Walmart Plus, and they just said, for the stuff that's branded, for Cheerios, whatever else, I'm just going to go online, and it's really, I do it. I had to try it because I'm in the business, right? Yeah. It's really easy, and it's really frightening in the fact that you get back to your computer, and it says, oh, by the way, you're going to be running out of milk. Son of a gun, I am. And there's
just think about the Internet of Things, Steve.
Oh yeah.
If I could plug my fridge into the network and know that, okay, here's the milk location, here's the bread, all of these things that you need and want. And then when it gets low, it can remind you, it's like, okay, I get a text message.
And then from the promotional side, which is a lot of the stuff I work on, I work to have, when you're going to order that milk, I want to make sure you got a little coupon down there for Oreos.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you want to fill that basket, because that's one of the challenges of grocery retail is that when you're working from a list, Russ, you usually work from a list. And the problem is you don't do that when you go in the store. When you go in the store, you're just shoving stuff in the basket down every aisle. Yeah. So your average purchase price dips considerably when you're doing list shopping or online shopping. So they've got to come up with ways to get you to basically, add to your list while you're shopping, what we call impulse buys in the store. We want you to impulse buy online too. And that's tough, right?
Well, absolutely. Because like you said, when you're shopping from a list and you're saying, okay, you look in your fridge and say, okay, I need milk. So you add it to your list. And then all of a sudden, at some point in time, you order it. Your food, either you go pick it up in the parking lot, which is a lot of people are, migrating to, or you have it delivered. Either way, it doesn't matter. You're not impulse buying because you're walking down an aisle and seeing, oh, wow, that awesome packaging on aisle 14 caught my eye and I wanted to try it out because I've never seen it before.
Right.
And that's an experience that is really hard to transfer on to the online message.
Yes. It's a real challenge because we have what we call shelf adjacencies, which is right. If you're, can I get you to buy the bigger bottle? Can I get you to try the strawberry flavor because it's sitting right next to the blueberry, and maybe you pick up both. In Amazon, right, it comes up and there it is. It's a big picture of the package and all the stuff is on the side here in the video. And then there's the lines with the competitor's product and sponsored product, but they're down here kind of. It's not the same environment at all. And much tougher to get you to shell out. So
I have a question for you. You may know the answer. So in a grocery store, if I go there once a month and I go back a month later, it appears to me that a lot of times they've moved everything around in the store, and it's they might be remodeling. I don't know because I wasn't in the store every day, and it just seems like everything moves. And I keep thinking to myself, that's ingenious because then you have to look more at the shelves to find out exactly where you're going in order to look and see your product that you're searching for, and you might see something else along the way to pick it up and impulse buy.
In most of your standard store, diagram, right? You probably won't get a change unless there's a remodel. Too much.
Yeah.
And particularly not with freezer and refrigerated space. What you will get is end aisles and side aisles and whatever, which will change constantly. They'll change every 4 weeks because they're a promotional item.
Yeah.
And what you also usually will find is that the most heavily trafficked items, which is, by the way, milk and eggs, are always at the back of the store.
Yeah.
Because they want you to travel through the store.
Travel through the impulse.
Right, exactly. Aisles. Yeah. I just want to grab a milk and go. No, it's over in the back corner, and you're going to have to go through produce or cereal aisle to get there. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Deliver it.
That's intentional. Yeah. I had the good fortune to work with some folks from Ready Pack salads and craft cheese and on where we got to set up some test stores to do different things in the produce department. And it was basically a build a salad program. Okay. If you want a salad, we all want goodies in our salad, toppings, meat, cheese, whatever, but you've got to go to 10 places in the store to get all those things. So what we did is we got the partners together and we created a section where literally there was the bag of lettuce, the cheese, the meat, the croutons, whatever. And it was a phenomenal success from a sales point of view. The problem is it was cross-departmental within the store. So the produce manager had to give up his space to the craft cheese guy. He was not happy. Right. The beverage guy, he got a cooler in the produce department because you could grab a beverage with it too. And they were like, no, get it the hell out of here. I want apples in there.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? And so it never went anywhere. I mean, it just didn't happen.
Because of the grocery internal process.
Because of the way it's structured. Yeah. And partly logistics. I mean, there's a logistics part of it too. Refrigerated space is expensive in produce. Not expensive to the craft people. The craft people, what's it going to cost me? I don't, I'm selling grated cheese at $3.49. Just tell me what it costs.
Tell me what it costs.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Sign me up. Yeah. I don't have any. No, that's a whole nother, we need a whole nother conversation about pricing and margins and stuff. But but trust me, the guys from Kraft will put cheese anywhere in the store at any cost because they'll make the money back.
So talking about money in the process, delivery, okay, the grocery stores are reduced inventory, impulse item purchases.
Yep.
There's a person that is required to be, paid for by the delivery process. So the end user consumer, is it being picked up all by the end user consumer ultimately? Or how is that working from a model perspective in the grocery industry and the food industry, the packaging industry?
So there's a couple of different explanations. Let's go back pre-pandemic. Pre-pandemic, most of that was being absorbed to a certain extent by the retailer or whether it was Amazon, and I'll quote Amazon as a retailer. So whether it was Amazon or Walmart or Kroger or whatever, there was a subsidy of that because they knew that it was coming. They were going to have to do it, and Amazon was doing it. So if they didn't do it, right, it's kind of one of those things. But let us say that Amazon was not probably making money at that point on a particular delivery. I mean, there's no way that I can have somebody deliver to my house a box of crackers tomorrow that is $3.40.
Right.
That comes in a box of its own, by the way. Then anybody's making money on that. That's okay. But the delivery of groceries, and you begin to get a tab of 100 and stuff. Plus, a lot of cases there were charges for delivery. I feel that both Prime and Walmart Plus, they're each $100 a year. Does that pay for the delivery person who comes by? I still don't. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, Russ, that it makes. I haven't done that deep a dive, but I'm sneaking suspicion. And this is a good story because it's true. And that is, one day I work from the house, and one day I'm counting trucks in my neighborhood, dropping stuff off. I mean, literally a FedEx truck at this, that, and the other. And I say to my wife of frustration, I'm going, this is ridiculous. I go, the carbon footprint, what is going on here? What we need a system where basically you just put everything in a transfer center. One truck comes to the house and drops everything off. And she goes, honey, it's called the post office. And I went, why doesn't Bezos buy the post office? Well, I mean, he could.
He could.
It's like, seriously, no, we're coming once a day, and we're going to put everything in the transfer center, and then, right? And we're coming to the neighborhood, and that's it.
Yeah.
You could come twice a day and save so much money, Russ. I don't know where the end, I mean, obviously they're rushing to reduce the costs.
Sure.
Because clearly there's a lot of stuff being delivered that cost is not, is it being covered by the consumer? I don't think so at this point. Not all of it. No.
Razor thin margins at best.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're counting on you doing more and getting more in the truck at a time.
Yeah.
There's drones, which I think are, again, something that's been accelerated probably by the pandemic.
Sure.
We'll see how that works. I just can't imagine in the retail lingo, when something walks out the store by itself, we call it slippage. I can't imagine what the slippage is going to be on drones. Like the drone that lands at your neighbor's house, and maybe your neighbor goes, wow, wow, Budweiser. Hey,
we're living in an amazing adventure right now. And, understand that it's not all positive at this point in time. No. However, the outcomes and the education and the experience that we accumulate through this journey is going to be able to really change the world in a lot of ways. And like yourself, I've been a remote worker for 10 years. I work where I want. I can move where I want. I can, I'm pretty flexible in what I'm able to accomplish. And as a result of that, I've released a lot of things that, I thought that I used to need. And, I don't purchase certain things that I used to purchase. And I don't have a lot of items that some people work hard for. And it's just a lifestyle change for me. And I know the pandemic has caused a lot of people to reflect on that same thing and say, wow, do I really need this? Do I really want this? Do I need to have this? Is it important in my life? How much exercise, how much experience and effort do I have to go in through to get to that point? And some people are saying, yeah, I don't need that. I don't need it. And so, however, at the same time, I kind of get excited when I see a Prime truck show up and I got a package in the mail or something. It's funny how we react as humans. And I'm just excited to watch it unfold and, experience this whole thing. And, just like the show, you're a podcaster, I'm a podcaster. You live in Idaho, I'm in Arizona. The reality is a few years ago, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing right now.
No.
And we're live streaming to multiple platforms. We're getting groceries delivered. And 5 years ago, you wouldn't even think that would even be possible, let alone acceptable.
No.
And here we are in 2021, and it's almost normal for so many of us. It's just an amazing adventure.
I work with a couple of companies, Russ, where manufacturing and marketing and branding, whatever, are not together. So there's a headquarters, and then there's plants around the country and whatever else. And I did a couple of Zoom calls this summer when there was a little hiccup in the system, but we were all on the Zoom together, right? Yeah. I mean, just like that. And the guys in the plant could show us stuff, not trying to explain to you, Russ, what happens in the thing. Here it is. This is what's happening on the line. Yeah. And, are we going to do a recall? Are we going to do, whatever, all those things. And the legal counsel is on the Zoom.
Yeah.
And, and whatever. So it all of that stuff is amazing. And then the other part is, well, we've lost some of that face-to-face stuff. We've also developed a wider circle of people that we would never have gotten involved with. And the podcast is a perfect example.
Absolutely.
Face-to-face. If I'd had to go and physically interview the people I've had on my program, like you, right? You couldn't do that. Yeah. It make no sense. So that's just huge. That's given us a whole nother level of communication and interaction and networking. And remember, Russ, the opposite of networking is not working.
Absolutely positive.
But what we'll see what happens with, there are companies that are, I'm going to call them semi-manufacturers. Apple, they're a manufacturer, but they're not Ford. Yeah. How are they going to deal with collaboration and stuff amongst thousands and thousands of employees without the campus?
Yeah.
And there are some companies that are, saying, hey, you can work till 2022 at home. There are others that are starting to do callbacks. You're going to see more callbacks in the spring.
Yeah.
Well, we're almost spring right now, but later in the spring, you're going to see more May, June. They're going to start calling some people back that they feel need to be in the plant, or not in the plant, in the office. The plants, they're already there. The plants aren't running by themselves, but so, because that'll be
amazing. I would love to watch it unfold. I'm going to continue to watch it unfold, and it'd be interesting to have you back in the end of the summer and get updates from you, Steve.
Talk about what's gone down.
Yeah,
it's a little crazy. So
the evolution of packaging in a COVID arena. So
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Steve. I really appreciate you and sharing this information and updates. And I got so many people that I love and appreciate. And it's because of the show. It's because of the ability and opportunity to have Zoom calls and, live streaming and instant communication. And also the fact that we're all doing what we're doing and we're evolving, and the people that are doing the best in the world right now are the ones that are resilient and flexible and creative. And so hats off to you and everything.
Only way to get through.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thank you. Appreciate chatting with you this morning, and would love to come back anytime.
How do you enjoy people connecting with you and reaching out to you and making
so the easiest way is you can do Steve at kitchen2shelf.com. And it's kitchen, the number 2 shelf.com.
Okay.
Or Steve at NexxtLevelMarketing.com with 2 X's, Next Level. And it's the NexxtLevel Brands Podcast. It's available everywhere podcasts are available. New episodes air on Thursdays.
Fantastic. Well, as always, reach out, connect with Steve. Steve's a pirate. Let's connect with the pirate. It's all about the connection. And also, as you know, go subscribe, go like, share if you found value, or you want to share this with somebody that you feel is in need of this information. Please share it out. Yeah. Gratitude for all you're doing. And it's because kindness is cool. Smiles are free.
You bet.
And you enjoy the day, Steve.
Thank you, Russ. See you.
Thank you for joining the Pirate Broadcast. If you found this content valuable, please like, comment, and share it across your social media channels. I would love the opportunity to help others grow in their business. The Pirate Syndicate is a platform where you show up, we produce the show. It's that easy. If you want to be seen, be heard, and be talked about,